Going again. Good morning, my friends. Summertime. It's Thursday, but it's my Friday because we don't work Fridays in the month of June, June 11th, and we are going to do a quick little review on context clues. We are also going to do a look at the three branches of government and the separations of checks and balances and separation of powers, okay? So I'm gonna screen share real quick to look back at, and you all can see this, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right, awesome. So these are the five, what happened here? We have something in progress. Like that. The five types of context clues, all right? And number one we talked is definition, okay, or explanation. And I'm going to go over some of these. Sometimes the word or phrase's meaning is explained immediately after it's used. So in this situation, we have this funny looking word. It's an English word, like from England, haberdashery. Have you ever heard of haberdashery, Brian?
Not really.
Raven? Okay.
No.
It's really not a word we use in America at all, okay? But you'll notice that the definition or the explanation will be right after. So haberdashery, which is a store that sells men's clothing, is becoming more common today. So that would be, I guess I could put it in another way, it's a guy's store. It's a men's clothing store. Can we think of any or name any men's stores?
Men's Warehouse.
I was going to say that one. Men's
Warehouse. You're going to love the way you look. Remember that was the saying? You're going to love the way you look. I guarantee it. Okay. So haberdashery, now we know what that means. It looks funny. Again, most of us have never seen this. This is definitely an English word. We are going to, through this whole thing, look at what type of context clue, and it's going to help us understand haberdashery. So sometimes we look at restatement or synonym. Okay, synonyms mean the same or similar, very, very close. Okay, sometimes a hard word or phrase is said in a simple way. So Lou, was sent to the haberdashery to find a new suit. And we know Lou is that a guy's or a girl's name? Lou or Louis.
A girl's. A girl's name?
I guess it could be a girl's name. In this sense, they should have put like the name
could
Louis.
Be both.
Yeah, it could be both. Let's pretend that says Louis, because not a lot of girls are named Louis. Okay, so we're gonna.
Yeah. The only girl name I know is Lois.
Lois. So this is gonna be Louis, though. Louis was sent to the haberdashery to find a new suit. We know it's he because we know it's a guy because that pronoun is he. He needed to wear one of his uncle's. Needed to wear one for his uncle's wedding, okay? Because the sentence says that Lou would find a suit at the haberdashery, we can conclude or we can understand that it must be a place where men can find clothes or where men's clothing is sold. Okay, so that's a restatement or synonym, okay? Then we have our contrast, which would be, or antonym, which is the opposite meaning. So sometimes a word or phrase is clarified by the presentation of the opposite meaning, somewhere close to its use. Look for the signal word when they apply context clues. So we're gonna see a signal word here. So again, we'll pretend this guy's name is Louis. Louis wanted to go to the haberdashery, but Anne, we can assume that's a girl, wanted to shop at the boutique. So this is a but. We're kind of changing gears. It's like, all right, we're moving forward. Now we're moving backwards or to the left or to the right. So the guy wants to go to the men's clothing store, and the female, Anne, wants to go to the boutique. What is a boutique?
Clothing store for gals.
For gals. That's perfect. You got that right on the head, Brian.
All right.
So the signal word but tells the reader to switch gears and think of the literal opposite understanding of it, okay? So if Lou wants to go to the haberdashery, which is for guys, the dude's store, and Anne wants to go to the boutique, they gotta figure out what they're doing. Next one is inference. inference or a generalization in the context clue. So sometimes a word or phrase is not immediately clarified within the same text, sentence. Relationships which are not directly apparent are inferred, or we can use the word implied. The reader must look for clues within, before, and after the sentence in which the word is used. So we're going to see a couple sentences. The haberdashery was Lewis's favorite place. He loved shopping for nice suits. The people who worked there were so kind and helpful. Okay. Let's look again. Readers, so that one says, the example there is that they're using an inference that if this guy likes this place that we don't know what it is, this is like the mystery word, haberdashery is the mystery word, and we know it's his favorite place, but he also is buying his favorite suits there, and the people are so kind to him when he buys his clothes there, we can assume it is a place where at least men's clothing is sold. It's an inference or a generalization. How about punctuation? Okay. Readers can also use clues from punctuation and type style to infer meanings, such as quotation marks showing the words of special meaning, dashes, parentheses, or brackets enclosing a definition, and then we look at italics, which is words that showing the word is defined. So we can look at this. This is going to really help us out, I think. Tom's father was a haberdasher, or a men's shopkeeper. In the story, Tom's father was a haberdasher, and in parentheses it says a men's shopkeeper. These are basically, punctuation is giving us the definition. In the story, Tom's father was a haberdasher, or, we got that dash right there, men's shopkeeper, and then Tom's father was a haberdasher. He had a clothing store for men. Okay, not too bad. All right. So I would like to, and we did this yesterday, I would like to give a couple of, or move the screenshot to IXL real quick. And I want to look at, we're going to learning, which is super, super fun. I'm going to go to language arts. I don't know why it always goes to math. I always harass the math teachers, say, why is yours more important than mine? It shouldn't be. Going to third grade. And again, if you need to type, you can put context clues like this, and you'll see those will come up in multiple levels. So if you're ever lost, you can always just search. I know that this is in the reading section. So vocabulary section. And it is right here, FF, all right? So let's do a couple of each, and then we're gonna move on to the article that I already assigned for you about 15 minutes, 20 minutes ago. But you guys are gonna have a little heads up because we're gonna read most of it together, if that's okay.
That's fine.
All right, so let's see what we can do here. We're reading the passage, or this little sentence, 2 sentences, and then we're selecting the synonym of the word that's in bold, which is weary. We're going to pretend we don't know what weary means. Kirk was tired from a long day of playing ball outside. By dinner time, he was so weary that he had to be excused from the table. So which word, again, we're selecting a synonym here. What is a synonym in this whole passage that has to do with the word weary? What do you guys think?
Tired.
Yes. Very
good. Tired.
Let's see if we got it. Boom. Good work. And then through this, we're looking at tired and weary. We know that those are synonyms. Now we want to try to define them both with, and we can do simple. We can simply use these 3 words in a substitutionary way. So we'll substitute them, and if it makes sense, cool. There'll probably be one that's kind of slip you up, and then the others will be, and one is going to be the better answer, okay? So by dinner time, he was so lively that he had to be excused from the table. I mean, that's possible that he was so like hyper that he had to leave the table, but is that the best answer maybe? I don't know.
No.
Or then by dinner time, he was so sleepy that he had to be excused from the table.
Yes.
That one we're going to say probably that's it, but we want to look at this next one too as well. We want to not just go look at 2 or 3 out of the 4 if you have 4, which you will on the GED. So by dinner time, he was so gentle that he had to be excused from the table. Would you be excused if you were too gentle? What do you guys think? No. Now that's just an odd word in there because it kind of goes with it, but it doesn't. Like gentle is like when you're holding a baby, you need to do that gently. But if you're tired, you wouldn't say that I'm so gentle. You would say I'm tired or I'm weary or I'm fatigued or I need sleep or I'm sleep deprived or these things. You wouldn't say I need gentle. No, you don't. That doesn't make any sense. Okay. So sleepy is it. Very good. Terrific. Let's do another one. Mona is studying for the big math exam on Tuesday. She loves math and is sure she'll do well on the test. I think we looked at this yesterday. Which is our synonym? What's our synonym?
Test.
Exam and
Test.
Yeah. Brilliant. So now we're looking and we can kind of look at the synonym of exam and test, and we're coming out with hopefully a better meaning or definition. So exams or tests are questions to see what someone knows. They are classes that teach people new things, or are they answers to hard questions?
It's the first one.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. I think we are just killing it. Fantastic.
Fantastico.
Fantastico. We saw many old buildings during our vacation in France. For example, we visited an ancient church that was beginning to fall apart.
It's old.
Old building.
Old.
Awesome. Yep. So I think we got this part that says.
Terrifico.
All right, let's finish this part and then we're going to go to FF2. We saw many old buildings during the vacation. Again, old and ancient, and we're trying to come out with a really good definition or the meaning. So old, is it, or ancient, is it known for a short time? Is it of great age, or is it in poor shape?
Of great age.
Of great age.
You're right. I want to show you a trick here. This is the stupid one. That's the one you throw out the door, right? They're always going to give you one that's goofy, right? A short time. No, if it's ancient, you don't know it for a short time. And then this one is possible. If you go to ancient ruins, they call them ruins for a reason, because they're not in good shape. That's the one to slip you up. But on the GED, or whether you took the FSA in high school, FCAT, whatever you took, you'll see that 2 answers can be sort of correct, but one is the most correct. Okay, so you don't want to get slipped up with in poor shape, because some of the old buildings would be in poor shape. But our best understanding of ancient is that it is of great or older age. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sweet. All right, back to third grade. Back to third grade, and we are going to we're identifying through this section. I'll do a couple of these, and then we're going to use the academic. Okay. All right. Harry Houdini was famous for his escape tricks. He could escape after being tied up with ropes and handcuffs. He traveled the world doing his act. In one trick, his feet were tied together and he was hung upside down in a full tank of water. In front of big crowds, Houdini also managed to get out. People couldn't figure out how he did it. In Germany, the police said Houdini was a sham. So he agreed to test to prove the act was real. Houdini allowed the police to put him in chains and handcuffs. Then in front of 300 police officers, he freed himself. Okay. What would the sham mean?
Fake.
So fake. Okay. And I want to read that. So in Germany, the police said he was blank. And then through this context clue, it's almost an antonym or an understanding of, they tested him and they said, all right, we're going to handcuff you and 300 of us are going to watch you. And if you can free yourself, awesome. But we need to understand that they thought he was full of it. Okay. They didn't think he was a hero. They could have thought he was a fool, but the better definition is that he was fake.
Fake.
Was he a troublemaker? Was he getting in trouble doing this?
No.
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 So that's where I'm showing you test-taking skills of, that's the process of eliminating all three of those, okay? Another one. Let's do another one. Okay, and now we're trying to find the selected text from the paragraph that best helps the understanding of sham or fake. Couldn't figure out. So he agreed to test. I think it might be this section.
Okay,
I agree.
let's try that one, see what happens.
I agree.
Let's see.
Agree.
Could be wrong. No, we're brilliant. Duh. All right, next one. Marian Anderson was a great American singer. People often said that a voice like hers was heard once in 100 years. That was because her voice was so versatile. She could sing many kinds of music, perfectly hitting the highest and lowest notes. In 1935, she was invited to perform at the White House. She was the first African-American to do so. She was also the first African-American member of the New York City Metropolitan Opera. Her success helped her pave the way for other African-American performers after her. Versatile. So we're going to switch these out. Versatile. That was because her voice was so versatile. Was it so out of tune?
No.
Was it so set and not changing? Was her voice set and not changing? I think that's to slip you up, but I don't think so. As high as to be ear splitting. Did they say that it was hurting people's ears?
No.
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 Able to do many different things. So we can conclude that versatility, or being versatile, as you can do a bunch of different things. Sometimes we call that, like, that person is a Renaissance woman or a Renaissance man, because the Renaissance artists used to do painting, singing, create music, architecture, sculptures, they used to do all these different things. So they were very versatile. They could be able to do many, many different things. All right, let's move on to the next one, which is just finding where versatile was. Okay, again, she's a great American singer. People often said her voice, like her, was heard once in 100 years. That was because her voice was so versatile. She could sing many. This is almost like a definition right here. She could sing many kinds of music perfectly, hitting the highest and lowest notes. Okay, some people can only sing low, and some people can only sing high. It just depends. Let's see if we got it. Keep it up, Buttercup. Sweet. We are going to go to FF3 now. All right. And again, this is just a quick review. I know it's taking longer than it should, but a quick review of the context clues that we looked at yesterday. We want to build those skill sets so we get them at the 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade levels, okay, as best we can. If you're not there yet, that's awesome. We continue to grow. All right, so we're looking at the word rate, and we're trying to substitute. We'll use that substitution again. Hair may grow a little faster in the summer and a little slower in the winter, but everybody's hair grows at the same rate, okay? Left alone, dead hair will grow about 6 inches per year. Hair on other parts of your body grows much more slowly. So we're looking at the same rate. But everybody's hair grows about the same rate. Same place, same speed, same time. Speed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Speed.
I thought it was a little faster. I thought you grew about an inch a month, but I don't know. Maybe that's because you got all those vitamins. Next one. The word rate means speed. Which sentence talks about rate? Correctly. Okay. A runner the runner was tired when he crossed the line. Was that about rate?
No.
No, the runner ate a big dinner after his race.
No.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yay, cool.
Definitely the third one.
Yeah, so the runner ran how many miles? 7 miles per hour. It's pretty out.
No, that's all right.
Okay, that's under a 6-minute mile.
Correcto.
All right, let's do this. We're looking at which one uses rate correctly. Craig and Rosa both love reading, but Rosa reads at a faster rate. I think that's it right there.
That's got to be it, yeah.
We need to read the other ones. Rosa has an interesting rate about why not all kids love to read. You're using that in the wrong way. It sounds funny. Greg has a rate of books in his garage that he hasn't read. That is an improper use of the word rate as well.
Right.
Cool.
Oh.
Great job. Great job. All right. So let's switch gears if we could now.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
All right. So again, this is, for those of you who watch this on a video later, if your name is not on this list, you need to get in gear and on the Newsela, and I have forwarded this morning your logins that you should create to have access to those. Okay.
Cool.
I will look at let's do assignments. Again, this will be a little slower than I want it to be because we're Zooming and recording at the same time, and we can only do so much. Okay. So checks and balances, the U.S. government, couple things that we're going to look at this together, okay, and try our best to conquer this article, because the next couple articles I'm going to give you are about each of the three branches of government. So again, I wrote, good morning. We'll be looking at the U.S. government, the next few articles, checks and balances within the three branches of government. So we're going to do the following. We're looking at important essential information. We're also finding the who, what, when, where, why, and how. And then we're creating a 3 to 5 sentence summary, hopefully as a conclusion, looking to get a 75 or 100% on the quiz, which is a 3 or a 4 out of 4. Okay, so you guys are going to have a little heads up on everybody else because we're going to have gone through this article for the most part. Okay, let's go to the max. Together we can do the max, right? So the max is 12th grade. We have about 1,000 words, 900 words, and we'll just try our best to do this. Do we want to, or would you guys feel comfortable reading paragraph by paragraph for me, or as we go through this, or what do you think? Are you going to really make me make my money today? What do you think, Brian? Would you read that first one or no?
We want to help you make your money.
Oh, you want me to read it?
Well, we want to help you make money. That's why.
What about you, Elijah? You good or what?
I can read that first one.
That would be fantastic.
The founding fathers, the framers of the Constitution, wanted to form a government that did not allow one person to have too much control. With this in mind, the framers wrote the Constitution to provide for a separation of powers, or 3 separate branches of government. Each has its own responsibilities, and at the same time, they work together to make the country run smoothly and to ensure that the rights of the citizens are not ignored or disallowed. This is done through checks and balances. A branch may use its powers to check the powers of the other 2 in order to maintain a balance of power among the 3 branches of government.
All right. Couple things here. And again, as we read, we just don't want to run and go to the next paragraph. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
We want to analyze this just a little bit. So, oops. What I want to look at is, real quick, we can go through this as, I just want to be able to write here. Okay, cool. I want to look at who are the founding fathers and the framers of the Constitution. Can we name some?
Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, George Washington.
Yes.
I think one of them was named like William Williams or something like that.
Yeah, there were quite a few. Okay, so I just wanted, again, when we're starting to read and we're starting to think about, okay, that's only 7, 8 words. And we now have in our mind, we can picture Thomas Jefferson, we can picture Franklin and Washington. Okay, I'm just putting that off to the side real quick. How about this section? I'm going to put all these together. If it'll work, here we go. I want to know that separation of powers and are almost as, these are synonymous. I wish I had like a synonymous. So I'll put equals 3 branches. And then another phrase over here I liked was checks and balances. Okay, so the separation of powers are 3 branches of government, and we'll just probably learn about all 3. Okay, and then they looked at checks and balances, and then a branch may use its power to check the power of the other 2 in order to maintain a balance of power. So we don't, the idea here is we want, or we can phrase it in maybe the negative, we don't.
They're called dynamites.
We don't want to have any branch more powerful than the other. That's sort of a negative way to put it. Not like negative in a bad way, but the reverse way to put it. So a branch may use its power to check the powers of the other 2. Okay, a balance, you want that balance. You don't want the president having too much power. You don't want the judicial having too much power. You don't want the legislative having too much power. Okay, so I will read this next one. The Constitution of the United States divides the federal government into how many?
3 branches.
3 branches. And again, as I'm reading, I want to be doing this with this text. You're either doing it physically if you want to print those the worksheets out, or you want to do it digitally like this. To ensure a central government in which no individual, which I just almost put, or group, gains too much control. And we kind of just literally, I wish I could draw an arrow because we've said that right here, okay? We have legislative, okay? And we might, now we can color code. So when we're talking legislative, what color you want to do?
We can do red, like you already have it.
Legislative as red? Perfect.
I go with red too.
There we go. So legislative is red, which is Congress. So I'm going to write this over here. The legislative is literally Congress. And we'll learn about who Congress is. Executive is, let's do green. Let's do yellow because our executive is the president and he kind of has yellow hair and yellow skin.
That's what I was thinking.
Let's do that.
We can have fun, right? The executive is the president. Okay, and then the judicial we will do in purple because they wear robes. And that is the Supreme Court. And I want to put, I'm sorry, judicial. Judicial Supreme Court. Cool. And we're looking at this, that each branch, again, legislative, which is Congress, executive, which is president, vice president, cabinet, and a whole myriad of different other opportunities there. Judicial is the Supreme Court, okay? Each branch can change acts of the other branches as follows, okay? So one right here is a really good example. The president can veto. That's a big fancy word, veto. And that has to do with the legislative. So why won't it let me do
hold on just a sec. I'll be right back.
So it'll veto. There we go. Veto laws, which means what? What's it mean to veto?
Like refuse?
Yeah. So
yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I'm the president. The law, you're either it's a good, you could say, all right, there should be no speeding. And I say, okay, that's cool. Then you send me another one that says people with green hair shouldn't be able to go to coffee shops. And I go, that doesn't look good. And I veto. I say, no, that's not happening. Okay. Next one, Congress. So Congress, we're doing in red. Congress confirms or rejects the president's appointment and can remove the president from office in exceptional circumstances. Do we know what that is called?
Impeachment.
Impeachment. Very good. And then this one I want to put in here that veto means to veto to
decline or refuse.
I like that. Decline.
Okay, I'm back.
Use law. So you can say, no, I don't like that law. And then Congress, we're looking at impeachment. Okay. That's, again, it's very difficult to get an impeachment, but it's possible. The justices of the Supreme Court can overturn unconstitutional laws are appointed by the president and affirmed by the Senate. So they're looking at laws, and even if the law goes across the president's desk and it becomes a law and it's okay, and they are in a lawsuit or in court and they decide, wait a second, our law isn't right, we need to fix that. They can deem that law to be unconstitutional. And again, president says, hey, I'm going to have Brian Dunning be the next Supreme Court justice. The Senate has to say, okay, we approve of him. All right. So the U.S. federal government seeks to act in the best interests of its citizens through the system of checks and balances. So this is huge. This is a really, really good explanation of a visual, I guess you would call it, of the separation of powers, where you have, this is the Capitol building, which is legislative, where Congress, where the House of Senate and the House of Representatives live. They don't live there, but where they work. The executive is White House, okay? The president, vice president, and the cabinet. He or she, depending on the president, chooses that cabinet is people around him or her that he uses as kind of experts in particular, like he'll have an expert in law, he'll have an expert in police law, in the military, different branches of the military. The judicial is, again, Supreme Court. There are 9 justices, okay, nominated by the president and must be approved by the Senate, okay? You have to have at least 51 vote, has to be majority. There are only 9, okay? And what's unique about them, and we might learn, is that these judicial, it's the only job that I can think of in my life, unless you're a king somewhere, is that you have that position for the rest of your life. You can't be fired from it unless you break the law, if they deem that you are like mentally unstable or mentally unfit, or if you retire. Most of these people die or retire, okay? Going back to Congress, 2 houses, the Senate and the House of Reps. The Senate is evenly matched per state. I don't care if it's Delaware with 15 people, or they don't have 15 people, but they have a small population, or it's Florida with 20 million people. We have 2 senators, and so does every other state. So that would be 100 elected senators. And then the House of Reps is divided, like you said, based on population, and there are 435, okay? So there are 535 congressmen and women, which is pretty outstanding, right? Now we're going to look first at, boom, can I highlight this? Maybe. Yes. What was legislative? Red. Sweet. The legislative, anybody want to read?
I will.
All right, let's hear it.
The legislative branch enacts legislation, confirms and rejects presidential appointments, and has the authority to declare war.
So a couple of things here. We have enacts legislation, or they turn a bill into a, why won't that highlight? They enact legislation. And confirm or reject appointments. And this is where it gets a little crazy, is that when your Congress or your legislative branch has different opinions than the president, it makes the president's appointments hard to confirm. So he or she has to put somebody in that most will like. Does that make sense? So you don't get to control who you really want in there. Do you want to continue?
The branch includes Congress, the Senate, and House of Representatives. and several agencies that provide support services to Congress. American citizens have the right to vote for senators and representatives through freedom confidential ballot.
I want to really quickly just write this here because I'm a numbers data person. So the Senate, how many people?
100.
100. And we call it the House of Reps is how many?
435.
435. So all in all, we're at 535. Okay. You want to continue or we passing it on?
I'll continue.
Okay, cool.
Senate. There are 2 elected senators per state, totaling 100 senators. A Senate term is 6 years, and there's no limit to the numbers of terms an individual can serve.
So, a couple things here. There are 100 of them. How do I move this dumb activities thing? Just get out the way. A Senate term is how many years? This is pretty interesting. 6 years. That is 2 years longer than the president's term, isn't it?
Yes.
Yep.
And there are how many? What are the limits?
There are no limits.
There are no limit.
So you could be a senator, and I believe you could be a senator at age 30. Let's put that in there. I believe you can be at 30, and you could be. What if you live to 90? You get elected at 30, and you could theoretically be working till 90. You could be in the
for
Senate
10 terms.
for literally 10 terms, 60 years. Is that insane?
That is crazy.
Yes.
That's crazy.
So House of Representatives. So like, and there's no limits on either the Senate or the House of Representatives. So you have like up in Boston where Mr. Kennedy was literally, you have grandparents who had him as a senator, and then he died about 10 years ago. And their grandchildren had him as a senator as well. All right, so let's look at House of Reps. You want to continue or are you passing the flame?
I'll continue the last one and then
All right.
I'll pass
All right.
on. House of Representatives. There are 435 elected representatives, which are divided among the 50 states and proportion to the total population. There are additional non-voting delegates who represents the District of Columbia and the territories. A representative serves a 2-year term, and there is no limit to the number of terms an individual can serve.
So there are 2 years. And then again, there is no limit. These are the no limit people here. Now, you have some non-voting, okay, non-voters that are still senators, right? And that's not part of this 435, but they are they're DC, District of Columbia. They are places like Puerto Rico. Guam, all these American territories have voted House of Representative, so they're congressmen and women, and their vote does not count. So that kind of stinks. In order to pass legislation and send it to the president for signature, both the House and the Senate have to have a majority, which is over 50%. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is a really good visual, and I actually assigned this visual. Somehow it was able to be assigned. That this is a good visual, and I would use this as a cheat sheet to do any work on IXL, because there's a whole section on IXL in social studies about that. Anybody want to read the executive branch? I know you guys are super excited. No, you don't? Brian, no one? You want me to make my money, don't you? All right, let's go through it. The executive branch, what they call is carries out and enforces law. Okay, so if we change a law like we did, where we weren't going to have separate but equal school facilities, the president or the executive branch assigns different people to make that happen. So if you have somebody at one school saying, oh, we're not going to let people of color in our school, or vice versa, no, the enforcement is to carry out that. Okay, and that's an example from the
Yeah.
It includes the president, vice president, cabinet, executive departments, independent agencies and committees. There's a ton of them. You can look at them. American citizens have the right to vote for the president and vice president through free and confidential ballots. Key roles. The executive branch does the following. The president leads the country. He or she is what they call the head of state or the leader of the federal government. Also considered the commander-in-chief, which is what? That is literally being in charge of all five military sections there. The president serves 4-year terms and can be elected no more than 2 times in a row. The president has the power either to sign legislation, so they can sign legislation into law, they can make it into law, or veto it, which means adios, this is not happening. Although Congress may override, listen to this, this is the checks and balances, this is the separation of powers here, where Congress can override a veto with, and well, actually, let me highlight that in red, because that's our Congress color. They can do that, and this is 2/3 or 66%. Do you know how hard it is to get 66 out of 100 people to agree on something? I'm just using that as a percentage. I wanted that to be red. Okay, it's not going to go red. It's going to be orangey looking. The executive branch conducts diplomacy. So he or she will have diplomats all over dealing with other countries and other nations. So in almost every country, we have U.S. diplomats, and they have like a section or buildings, an area in every major capital city across the world where there is a U.S. embassy. Okay, so I lived in Costa Rica. There was a U.S. embassy. Same thing in Argentina, in Buenos Aires is the capital. There was a U.S. embassy where you could, God forbid you lost your visa, you could order a new one and it'd be sent there. Okay, and then the president has the power to negotiate and sign treaties. These diplomats build relationships with other countries. So the Costa Rican diplomat probably knows Spanish, probably can work with that government to say, hey, we have goods and services that you need, let's make deals, and vice versa. So they kind of work in the name of the president to build positive relationships with countries, which also must be ratified 2/3 votes. The president can issue executive orders, okay, which direct executive officers to clarify or further existing laws. The president also has unlimited power to extend pardons and clemencies for federal crimes, except in cases of impeachment. He can't say, or she can't say, hey, I just got impeached, I'm going to reverse that. That's the only thing. But if you get in trouble for whatever reason and he or she deems that you should be pardoned or have clemency, and which means to, like, if you committed whatever crime and you have 16 years to do it, you served 8 faithfully, and he wants to deem you have clemency, which is shortening that time frame. With these power comes several responsibilities, among them a constitutional requirement to from time to time give Congress information of State of the Union. So the State of the Union, you've heard of that, the State of the Union address, right? This is how we're doing, guys. and recommend their consideration such measures as he shall judge necessary and expedient. Although the president may fulfill this requirement in any way he or she chooses, presidents have traditionally given State of the Union address to a joint session. So all of the people meeting each January, so beginning of the year, right? Outlining their agenda for the upcoming year. Okay, so basically the State of the Union is saying, hey, these are my goals. These are my goals for the next year. Let's make this happen. And you're doing that in the lawmakers' in the Capitol building, they call it. The VP, Vice President, let's learn about him or her. The Vice President supports the President. If the President is unable to serve, the Vice President becomes the President. He or she can serve an unlimited number of 4-year terms. Vice President, you could be a Vice President over and over and over again if you are chosen.
What, huh?
The Vice President also serves as the President of the United States Senate. So they are in charge.
I thought you don't get breaks. I thought you get break today, huh?
Where he or she casts the declining vote in a case of a tie. So if there is a tie in the Senate, which would be 50-50, he or she, the Vice President, can get that deciding vote. The Cabinet. Now, the Cabinet, there are again, at least 51 members. These are advisors. These are professionals, whether they be business, military, police, health, whatever. Their cabinet members are nominated by the president and approved by the Senate, and they need at least a majority rule. Let's do judicial real quick, and they were purple, right? Judicial, purple. The judicial branch interprets the meaning, so they get to say, what does that law really mean? And how it applies laws to individual cases and decides if the laws violate the Constitution, okay? The judicial branch is made up of Supreme Court and the other federal courts. The Supreme Court, all right, that's not what I want. I'm super good at highlighting today, guys. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the United States. The justices of the Supreme Court are nominated by the president and must be approved by the Senate with at least a majority factor. And they're approved by the Senate. Congress decides the number of justices. Okay, currently there are how many? 9. Why is there
only 9, huh?
Why are there 9? Do you know?
So so there can be a best 2 out of 3 within 2 out of 3.
Well, it has at least with 51 votes.
Yeah. So if you have 9 justices and they all vote, you'll never ever have a tie. That's what you want. Okay. There are no fixed. This is the crazy part. There are no fixed terms. When you are a justice, you serve for life or until you quit, retire, become crazy in the head, or mentally insane, or commit a crime, or die, okay? So they serve until death, retirement, removal for exceptional circumstances. Other federal courts, the Constitution grants Congress the authority to establish these other federal courts, okay? They are the highest. So if you're in a case, and it goes and it appeals and appeals and appeals and appeals and appeals, it might one day actually end up on the Supreme Court docket, what they call a docket, or.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I have another Zoom meeting at 12, so.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to cut it right now.
Me too.
And what I'm going to do is forward you another article that's more detailed than this, but you can go through that and then we'll see you Monday morning, 11, okay?
Okay.
Yeah,
all right,
I'll see you Monday.
We'll see you. Bye-bye.
All right. See y'all.